Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Vantile, joined tonight by sports editor Josh Kirschenbaum, sports reporter Dylan Wilhelm, and sports clerk Cody Christian. Cody, how do you like...
First appearance, give him his due.
First appearance by Cody. How do you like the title?
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea what's going on with that. Never heard of a sports clerk.
Well, now you have.
Yeah, I was sad to hear that junior, senior paid intern wasn't allowed as an official position. So,
you speak up a little bit. Not now, but going forward. You're doing great though. You're doing great, Cody.
Trying my best.
Okay. It was a bad week one for the grid pickers and a good week one if you like close games. We are talking prep football, which opened up 4 days ago.
Friday?
Yeah, it is Tuesday.
It is.
We had 5 one-possession games. One of those went to overtime. 2 of those were won in the final 10 seconds, and only 3 games hit the running clock.
We were talking about this when we were coming back taking calls. I was looking at them like, I don't think we had this many close games last year, let alone week one. And I looked it up, and last year in all of September, there were 4 one-possession games in the area. And we had 5 in like 2 hours.
Wow. Good. Do you think that trend will continue all season? Is it going to be an up and down year?
Probably.
I hope so.
Not for my grid picking, but
well, it just makes your grid picking all the more interesting.
I have yet to see any up on my grid picking.
Yeah.
It's the only direction you can go now.
We'll get to your grid picks, and they were abysmal. First game up, Toledo 42, Raymond South Bend 35. Toledo was up 3 scores multiple times, but RSB scored 21 straight and tied it with 50 seconds left in the fourth. Toledo went 70 yards in 45 seconds, and Ethan Carvert scored the go-ahead touchdown on a 30-yard run. The Weeks kid, who's the Weeks kid? Eli Weeks was 9 of 18 for 142 yards passing and 4 touchdowns. And Trevin Gale had 7 catches for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. Is anybody surprised?
Cody was there. What'd you see?
Honestly, I was a little surprised by how close the outcome was, and also disappointed that you made me leave at halftime.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
This is the place to get all those takes out.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yell at your boss.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, what I saw in the first half, really, Toledo looked really good to me. It's even better than last year, in my opinion. Raymond South Bend looked like they were missing a few things still, being early on. But when I left at halftime, I really thought Toledo was going to control that game for the rest of it. So Raymond really must have switched something around at halftime, found something that worked.
All right, staying in the 2Bs, Rainier 34, Wahkiakum 29. Where was this game played?
Cathlamet.
Woo! Good sign for Rainier. As we all know.
Why?
It's a tough place to play.
Is it now?
Yeah. People are always saying that. Have been for years.
I know Cody had fun in Cathlamet last year, so.
I'm sure. The Mountaineers trailed 29-28 with 29 seconds to go after Wahkiakum touchdown, but drove right down and pulled ahead with a second left on a Jake Meldrum quarterback sneak. Rainier, better than last year?
I think this is what you get when you put them in the West Division with the likes of Wahkiakum every week instead of, Napfine and Ani and Kalama and all those guys. I think you'll see a couple more of these for them.
All right, great. The 2As, however, did less well in close games. Ridgefield 27, WFS 21. The Bearcats recovered a short kick to open the game, scored on the short field, and Connor Coleman took the kickoff to start the second half back for a touchdown. Other than that, however, they only managed 7 points. They were called for 6 holding penalties in the first half, and they got stopped in the red zone twice in the second. Josh, you were there.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Dan Hill called that first half the worst half of football that WF West has played since he started coaching, and that seemed a little bit hyperbolic to me, having watched.
You've seen some bad games.
I've seen some bad games, and they've had their ups and downs, and last year was definitely a lot more ups than downs, but. Yeah, they just couldn't get out of their own way. They had 6 holding calls in the first half. 1 caught a touchdown, called back. 2 had first downs, called back. And then on defense, it was just they could not stop Ridgefield from getting big plays. It was like they would get them to 3rd and long, and then Ridgefield would go over the top for 30 yards. I think they're just trying to figure it out. They're a couple steps back from where they were this time last year just because they have a few more things to figure out. We talked about last week how last year they really came into the season with everything set. Gage Brumfield looked fine. He didn't have a spectacular game. He also was far from the reason they lost. He was pretty decent throwing the ball. He was their best rusher running the ball. As long as they sort of figure out the blocking and manage to not hold and keep the blocks, like hold the blocks a little less and let guys get past them. And then on defense, just shore things up in the secondary. They'll be fine. I don't think they are state semifinal caliber right now, but they've got 8 weeks to get there.
Okay. Right here in town, Elma 21, Centralia 14 in overtime. The Tigers fell behind right out of the gate, trailed 14-0 after a quarter, but Dylan Mock scored a 7-yard touchdown run in the second quarter. Kellen Brookledge tied it on a short run in the third. Mock finished with 19 carries for 114 yards, and the Tigers competitive to open things up. Dylan, you were there, not Dylan Mock, Dylan Wilhelm. How are things?
Yeah, this is definitely one they, I don't want to say should have won, but they definitely could have won. There were multiple plays that kind of
Aaron can say it.
went in Elma's way.
You gonna say it?
You're going to say what?
You're the take guy. You can say they should have won.
Yeah, they should have won. Sure. It was overtime. It was anybody's game, it sounds like.
So, yeah, there was a big play towards the end of the first half to Landon Jenkins down the seam that got called back due to a questionable OPI, to say the very least. Would have put them inside the 20, didn't end up scoring before half. They almost recovered a pooch kick in the third quarter that would have given the ball back. Just popped free of the pile. Elma jumped on top of it. And then right before overtime, they had the ball at around the 25, 30-yard line with a minute left. Just all these things that you look back on and say, this really probably should have gone Centralia's way, but the fact that they were even in this game and took Elma to overtime, I think is a positive sign compared to where they were 12 months ago.
Okay. The other close game we had Friday night, Seton Catholic 32, Rochester 30. The Warriors got the ball back on their own 5-yard line, down 32-24 with 8.5 about left on the clock. They went 95 yards in just over 7 minutes to score, but were stopped on the 2-point try. Tate Cornstorm finished with 135 yards on 26 carries and a touchdown. Mason Armstrong had 138 yards on 17 carries and scored twice. Palmer Watt, 19 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown. They ran for a total of 479 yards.
And lost. How many teams you see get 300-yard rushers and still lose a game?
I can't remember any off the top of my head.
That's tough. And I mean, that's another one where they put themselves in a spot to win that game, which is not nothing. And if you remember last year, they played Seton and they won 9-8 with, I think they had like 120 yards of total offense. So AJ Easley was saying when I called him afterwards, like, ton of good signs.
Yeah.
Now they just have to finish.
All right. This podcast is brought to you by Gobel Septic, providing septic service and portable sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. They can hook you up with septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services. You never know when you're going to need those. And, of course, they will rent you a porta potty and a sink to go with it so you can wash your hands after you do your business. Visit gobelseptic.com. That's GOEBEL septic.com, or give them a call, 360-736-2167.
Oh, Slam funny, Cody?
What do you mean?
You're just laughing at the Gobel Septic guy. We take our septic really seriously on this podcast.
It just makes me happy to see our wonderful sponsors, Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, they are great. Now, for some games that were less close. Cody, do you have some feelings about this one? Napavine 59, Adna 6.
No comment for the time being.
Napavine got to 40-0 and then stopped because the halftime buzzer sounded. And they came back for the second half and tacked on 19 more just because I'm assuming like the reserves, the JV, maybe even the freshmen were in at this point.
C team.
Yeah.
8th graders.
Ashton Demarest threw 4 touchdown passes. Carson Denault caught 3 passes for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also returned a punt for a touchdown. James Gross, 2 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Cal Bullock took a punt back for a touchdown. Connor Holmes had a pick 6. Lane Johnson scored Adna's touchdown in the fourth quarter on a 57-yard run.
Just in case you thought Napavine might get out of the gate slowly because of any lull or being sleepy or no.
Championship hangover kind of thing?
No.
Okay. Napavine. Are we sure they're good?
I know they're still thinking about that championship loss 2 years ago.
They are. They are very concerned about that.
And
they
every
will
week it
avenge
gets a little bit further away, and every week they have to reach a little bit longer.
But they think about it every night.
I'm sure they do. Napavine's still good. Adna.
Who knows? You're not gonna learn anything from that matchup.
Yeah, this is not like a litmus test.
The litmus test is, and they had this kind of last year, was you got that game out of the way. Now your season really begins, right?
Well, you could say that right now Adna has the easiest schedule in the state.
Exactly.
Because they don't have to play Napavine.
Till at least the crossover.
Yeah. All right. Another game that was not close. Tumwater blew out Burlington Edison 49-6. 11 different T-Birds ran the ball. Jalen Nixon led the way, running for 103 yards, and Logan Cole had 2 touchdowns. Quarterback Ethan Kastner was 6 for 9 with 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Is the new Tumwater the same as the old Tumwater?
Well, William Garrow was not lying when he said he had 9 guys in his running back rotation because they let 9 guys run it and also 2 quarterbacks. The only other fun stat from this was that I don't entirely know how, but it was 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. So it wasn't like the Adna and Napavine game where they just blew them out early. It was It took them 12 minutes, and then I think Tumwater scored 3 touchdowns in the final like 6 minutes of the first half, and that was that.
Okay. And one other game, Onalaska took on some foreigners, beat St. Thomas More out of British Columbia, 46-14. They led 14-0 at halftime and 22-7 after 3 quarters. That blew it open with 24 points in the fourth. They led all area teams this week with 581 yards of offense, 472 rushing, and 109 passing.
That's honestly the more interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rodrigo Rodriguez, who continues to have just the best name, ran 29 times for 231 yards and a touchdown. And
Cody's preseason MVP pick.
Yes, sir.
looking good. Caden Mazingo ran 23 times for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he was also 5 of 7 passing.
7 passes.
7. All right. And they completed 5 of them.
That's unreal.
109 yards and a touchdown on Alaska. Are they back?
They might be. Who knows?
Do we know anything about St. Thomas More of British Columbia?
No.
Okay.
No. I did my research to find their huddle film, and
Did you do your own research?
yes, and I liked what I saw, but they might just not be stacking up well against the Canadian competition. Not for it to come down to a place like Onalaska.
Are you going to follow St. Thomas More the rest of the year?
We have to. For that.
I just might.
Well, St. Thomas More, I'm pretty sure they are in the same league with the Canadian team that Napavine's going to play in like 4 weeks. So there could be actual transitive. For the record, when I talked to Maz after the game, he was probably the least intense, like most relaxed I've ever heard him. He seemed pretty happy with the way things had gone.
Really?
Yeah.
My dad's opinion on why Ani won was because St. Thomas More is used to playing with square footballs.
Well, that's how things work in Canada.
Yeah.
Well, usually
if
they
you're
only
watching
get
in South Park, you understand that reference.
Usually they only get 3 downs too, right?
Yeah. They're punting. What are they doing?
Trying to score 1 point.
Yeah.
How many rouges did they try
to
for?
score 1 point exactly.
Let's see. This podcast is brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery. Cody, how you sitting for furniture?
I'm doing great.
I
sleeping on?
don't believe you. What you got a mattress hammock? What are you doing?
I got a mattress on a box spring. I have no headboard though.
You need to visit Elam's Home Furnishings, elamshf.com, and click the bedroom tab.
Okay.
Get yourself set up.
Do I get a sponsor discount?
Yeah, sure.
100%.
Maybe you need a Hyana Queen panel bed. This looks cool.
I drive past Elam's every day going to work, and I can never get that sign out of my head, that logo he's got on there.
Yeah, it's a cool looking dude. He's just like, hey, come buy a bed from me. And you're like, one of these days, man. One of these days I will. Anyway, visit elamshf.com online. Stop by their showroom at 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia. Lots of cool stuff, lots of cool deals, and we're happy they are a sponsor of Sports Dump. And now, time for some games that were like the Porridge was just fine, I guess is
Yeah.
neither too close nor blowouts. First up, PWV 26, Mossy Rock 28, or Mossy
just
Rock 8. Just 8. Mossy Rock scored first. PWV ended with 26 unanswered points. Blake Howard, 83 yards. Cody Strozik at 51. And Nate Fluke was 7 of 9 passing for 110 yards. For Mossy Rock, Easton Cole went 11 of 18 for 102 yards. And Mossy Rock, he led the Vikings with 90 rushing yards. Any thoughts on this one?
Coach Nate Smith, Tyson Portman also got some time at quarterback. And when I met with him in camp, he said that both him and Fluke will be getting time at quarterback. And when he was reading me some of the stats, he said, I told you both of them were going to get snaps. So that doesn't to me just seem like it'll be a week 1 thing. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe next week Portman has a big game. And I don't know, it's just kind of something to keep an eye on, a kind of a 2-headed monster, if you will, at quarterback there.
And Mossy Rock coach Eric Oldikainen said this was a big ask. It was a change for them, and he said he was glad they did it, and he would have preferred doing this than blowing out some random 8-man team. Was
maybe from Canada even.
Yeah,
you probably never even heard of them.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't. I'd love to introduce him to you, but we probably won't be able to see him anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, this was their first 11-man game since 2019.
2019 when they got reclassified. So I don't know how much you learned from either of these. I mean, none of the numbers really jump off the page. It seemed like kind of a by the books. Everybody's getting used to being back in the football season.
Yeah, and also it's important to remember PWV was the number 3 seed in the state playoffs last year.
Yeah,
and they're playing a 8-man team playing up. So they should win by 3 touchdowns or whatever. But yeah, Mossy Rock got on the board. Good for them. I think everybody leaves this feeling like, you know what, this is just fine.
The porridge.
Yeah, the porridge. The porridge is edible, but you're not happy about it.
Yeah.
Colville 34, Tenino 14. The Beavers spotted Colville 27 in the first quarter, and that was that. Any other thoughts?
The Beavers seemed to be the better team for 3 quarters. The problem, like you just said, was by the time they started playing up to potential, they were already down 27-0. And at that point, at any level, just crawling out of a hole that deep is just as much of a long shot as you can get. Coach Darren Tinnerstedt thinks they'll be fine. Just slow start, 5-6 hours away. It's an audio medium. I kind of just shrugged. He didn't really seem to make anything of it more than that was that they'll be okay.
Okay.
Did they go to Colville?
They did.
It's a long drive.
So next week I think they'll be back home and on the black
On
turf.
Saturday.
On Saturday. So maybe it's just getting used to having to get reacclimated to green turf was the problem for them.
Right.
Yeah, that's always a possibility. Next up, Tudor Lake 24, Morton White Pass 12.
This was bad.
Yeah, Morton White Pass never led. They were down 18-6 at halftime. They outrushed the Ducks 249 to 121 yards, but they threw 2 picks and lost a fumble. What did Tudor Lake win a game last year? What was
No,
their
they
deal?
did not, and they won one 11-man game in 2021.
Is Tudor Lake back? Or is just a roadblock for Morton White Pass?
I don't know, but they need to look a whole lot better this week because this was probably the area low point of the week here.
Well, that's harsh.
This was a shocker for me when I saw this final score.
Everyone I talked to was like, yeah, that's not good.
Okay. Dropping down to 8-man, Darrington 56, Winlock 14. The Cardinals had 109 yards of offense, and James Cousin had 52 rushing yards. Not a great start for Winlock. Nowhere to go but up.
I think they expected to have some growing pains early on with just so many underclassmen starting for the first time.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of growing pains, Crescent 22, Oakville nothing, 0-0 at halftime. Low score for an 8-man game.
Yeah.
Gio Rodas was 4 of 13 for 124 yards passing, and Daniel Rodas caught 3 of those 4 for 119 yards.
So I'll put 5 of their passing yards went to one guy. When I said last week that the offense was just those 2 guys connecting,
You were correct.
I was.
I couldn't believe the score when I first saw it for an 8-man game.
As much as Dylan knows about 8-man football.
Yes, I've just been told it's high scoring. So 22-0 was a bit of a shock. But
And the other game we had, Montesano 44, Black Hills 7. No stats reported.
Shrugs all around.
Yeah. Okay. This podcast brought to you by AmeriCool Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is their business. They offer full-service HVAC installation, services, and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee with everything they do.
Just like us.
Just like this podcast. Visit them online at west.americoolonline.com, where you can request service with one button, get an estimate with another button, or call their 24/7 emergency service line if you are either too hot or too cold after hours, 360-948-2410. Do we want to go through this week's grid picks or recap last week's?
How about we just move on to the future? Because that's all you can do after a bad week one.
Amen.
In week one, Josh Kirschenbaum.
I said, how about we move on to the future?
Josh went 7-7 mid. Dylan 6-8.
Porridge.
Jeez. I went 8-6, respectable. Cody, boy, what's do we have a button for like sadness?
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
I wish I had headphones.
I was sad trombones for
3-11, Cody. You picked Tumwater beating Burlington Edison. You picked Montesano beating Black Hills, as did I. And then you picked Darrington beating Winlock.
You know what? If he has to suffer for being a proud Adna alum and standing up for his school, at least he has his dignity.
Yeah, I was looking at that pick and I just couldn't do it.
All right.
Couldn't go with the Tigers.
You couldn't go with anybody else that won a game, apparently. Jordan went 9-5. Jordan Nalen, our friend from the Daily News, and publisher Chad Taylor was also, he was 4-10. So he beat Cody. This might be the first time in a while Chad is like
Beat somebody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chad.
what's Chad's strategy again for picking teams?
Homer.
All right. This week's games. We've got, what are this week's games?
We got some stragglers who haven't made their picks yet.
It's on the week 2 tab. We got a whole spreadsheet here. I see what's going on. Games this week. We've got Centralia at Eatonville.
Interesting. It's another 1A school. It's a different type of 1A school.
Yeah, it is. We're just going to make our picks live. Josh has picked Eatonville. Dylan has picked Eatonville. I guess I should
just
also.
typed in Eatonville, yep.
I guess I should also.
Eatonville's across the board, except for Chad.
Chad has gone Centralia.
We'll note that Eatonville got blown out in its first game. I don't remember the last time that happened. They were playing another 2A playoff team though. So.
All right. Next game, WF West at Linden. Linden
lost.
Did they?
Linden is 0-1. This is a matchup of two 0-1 teams.
Who did Linden lose to?
Ferndale. So 3A. But they had a 24-game winning streak that got snapped.
I was going to say, didn't they win a... Linden is spelled Lynden, Dylan?
Just fixed it. Autocorrect did me dirty.
Not like the president.
Audio podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Everybody's going Linden except Cody and Chad.
Well, Chad has history picking WF West.
He does. He picked WF West over Tumwater last year, and he will not
Nobody
let
will
anybody
ever
forget
let us forget it. We won't let us forget it.
Kingston at Rochester. What's Kingston's deal?
No clue, but Rochester looked decent. I think they looked better. They showed more in week 1 than they showed at all last year. So,
Dylan, where are you going?
I'll go Rochester as well.
Okay.
I think Jordan's just a hater.
Yeah, Jordan has gone Kingston. Everybody else has Rochester there. Tumwater at North Kitsap. Where did North Kitsap finish last year? Semis?
Second. They beat WF West in the semis. And they won this past week. It was a close game, I think. I forget who they beat. But I think they won on a block field goal.
Interesting.
This is probably the best matchup in the state this weekend.
It certainly looks like it. I'm going to be a contrarian and go North Kitsap.
And last year, this game was 8-6. Tumwater won on a safety. And North Kitsap missed 3 field goals. And after running every single offensive play they had in the second half in Tumwater's half of the field, they got shut out.
Okay. Dylan?
I'll go Tumwater. They just looked so good this week.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say that with 52% confidence.
With some real caution there. North Thurston at Black Hills. Josh has gone Black Hills. Dylan?
I'll stick with Black Hills here as well.
And
you?
I will also go Black Hills.
Black Hills won 15-0 last year, I think, and North Thurston is not world beaters. Black Hills definitely needs a bounce, but this is getting towards must win for them.
All right. Adna at PL Willapa Valley. Josh has gone Adna. Dylan has gone Adna.
Cody's gone PW. Just kidding.
Cody has got, everybody's gone Adna except Jordan, who's gone PWV.
in
what?
Menlo.
Maybe that's a good side for PWV.
Oh, it's in Menlo?
It's in Menlo. How hard of a place is Menlo to play, Cody?
Based on experience, I'd say it depends on the time of year.
It's I covered a really hot Adna PL Valley like week 1 Saturday game at like noon.
Exactly. This time of year, it can be 100 degrees.
It was brutal.
Well,
like
Adna had
100% humidity out there in the harbor. You know, you never know.
Adna had much better luck against week 2 PWV last year compared to crossover week PWV.
That is
last
correct.
Year. So
About 40 points more.
God, I don't know. I'll go Adna. What the hell? Napavine on Alaska. Everybody else has Napavine. You know what?
68-0 last year.
Go Napavine. I think they're
Do you think it's better or worse than last year for Donnie?
better. I don't think they'll be tickling 70 this year.
And is that because the loggers force it or because Faye lets off the gas earlier?
A little column A, a little column B.
Do they score this year?
I don't know. Probably not, but who knows? Morton White Pass at White Swan. What do we know about White Swan?
They were really bad last year.
Yeah, I actually played against White Swan last year at about a 4:00 game, and one of their players was hauled off in the ambulance on a stretcher during warm-ups. That's just a fun memory for that one. But yeah, it was. I would say lack of coaching, but I'd say it's just a lack of everything with White Swan.
They had like 15 players.
Yeah, it felt like I was playing a middle school football team. I felt bad most of the time.
I mean, and
You've
Morton White
convinced
Pass.
me.
Yeah, Morton White Pass needs this one. So,
And Morton White Pass has got to be desperate after last week. Added motivation for him.
Okay, Rainier at Toledo. Josh has Toledo. Dylan.
I'll go Toledo as well.
Okay, I will go Toledo, and the rest of the board also has Toledo.
I remember, what was it, like 2 years ago? One of the years that Toledo played Rainier twice, it was like a 45-32 game, and I could see it going that way with the way that both of these teams played. Week 1 could be a pretty high-scoring 2B football game.
Yeah, let's see. Who's up next?
Quilcene and Mossy.
Quilcene, Mossy Rock. Quilcene is coming off of a
66-40 loss to Nacelle.
interesting.
64-40, something like that. There were 100 points in that game. There were over 100 points in that game.
You know what? I'll take Quilcene just to be the contrarian, although I hope Mossy Rock plays well. Oakville, it's something called Bridgeport.
There's a bridge there. I did look it up. There's one bridge.
Is there a port?
Is it on the water?
It's on a river, and there is exactly one bridge and one road leading up to the bridge, and apparently that's Bridgeport is the road or something. I don't know.
Spot in the road.
Yeah.
All right. Do we know where Bridgeport is?
It's on the river. I just told you.
Yeah, but we got a lot of rivers here. This is the
Can you
Pacific
specify the
Northwest.
river, please, Josh?
No, I can't.
Hold on.
I think it's by like I think I saw it's like by Brewster.
by Brewster.
Yeah.
City of Bridgeport. It's in Douglas County.
How close is it?
It is part of the Wenatchee, East Wenatchee Metropolitan Statistical Area, and the population was 2,409 in 2010. Well, that doesn't help.
8 of which will be suiting up on the football field.
Yeah, at least.
Is it by Brewster? Am I right?
Yeah, it is kind of by Brewster.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Man, imagine being like, oh, Brewster is the big city.
It's like when Ani people come here. Whenever we did the all area shoot, and we'd be like, "Oh, I'm excited to come to the big city to get my photo taken."
Go to town. We had to go to Taco Bell. Zilla at Tenino. What did Zilla do last week?
They beat Ellensburg by 1 point.
They beat Ellensburg.
It's not as impressive as it is in some sports.
All right. Josh and Dylan both have Tenino. Cody has Tenino, and Chad has Tenino. Jordan has gone Zilla, and I am also going to go Zilla.
Notable for being the last team in the state of Washington alphabetically.
Yeah, they always are. Until ZZ Top Academy opens shortly. Concrete at...
Until WF West gets named after the Zylstra family. Kevin Zylstra High School.
Of course.
Zylstra High School?
Yeah. Zylstra Academy, I'm
There
sure
it
it would
is.
be called.
Yeah.
And the last one, we have Concrete at Winlock. Concrete. You know, they have a road that runs
Yeah,
out
they
of
have
school.
the school goes over a freeway. That's the only thing I know about concrete.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Bet you I can guess what the road's made out of.
Yeah, and the school probably.
Asphalt, actually. You'd be surprised. Throw you for a curve. Concrete at Winlock. You guys, Josh and Dylan, have gone concrete. Cody's gone concrete. Jordan's gone concrete. Chad has gone Winlock. I will go concrete. Feels like a solid pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope it's not too hard of a road for Winlock.
Tonight is tonight the first night of non-football sports, soccer, volleyball, etc.
We had a couple soccer games on Saturday, but it was the first night in general of everything. We had Tenino beat Chelan. They went out and faced the Goats and hung 7 on the Goats. Tenino beat Chelan 7-0 behind hat tricks from Callie Mickelson and Abigail Archibald. And then Tumwater beat North Thurston 5-1 and looked like they were going to be very good too. But yes, in general, everybody else is starting today.
All right. And do you guys have plans for Friday? What are you thinking?
Friday, I'm probably going to be at Nafvine, Alaska. Dylan is going to be out on assignment, so he's out. Do you want to cover something?
No.
Okay.
How far away is North Thurston?
Lacey?
Lacey.
Half hour?
That seems pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, actually, we have North Thurston at Black Hills. Matt Beatty's covering that for us, so
Oh, is he?
he is.
Where do you think I should go, Josh?
I was going to ask if you want
Linden.
You want to go to Linden?
Go to Linden.
How far is Linden?
Canada,
3 hours?
essentially.
Yeah. Canada. Take your
I'll
passport.
pass.
You could
We'll figure out where
you
we're
could
sending
jump
you.
over the border for like a 4 p.m. kickoff and then make it back to Linden by 7 if you want to continue studying your Canadian teams.
Or do something else you can do in Canada. Are you 18, 19?
I am 18.
Oh, well, never mind then.
Yeah.
Concrete at Winlock. Is that a Saturday game?
It is the last 3, the Oakville, Tenino, and Winlock game. So I'll also be going to the Tenino game.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you just send him to add a PWV? Go out to Menlo,
Want to
man.
go to Menlo?
Hey,
Don't
I
you have
wasn't
family
gonna
out
ask,
there?
but
Okay.
yeah, I have conflict of interest on both sides of that game, so it's
Oh,
okay.
so it's extra fair. There you go.
Yeah. Take some photos.
balances
have
out.
have a great time.
Yeah.
Got some stuff for our new
old-
Instagram that you're running, right?
Yes.
Good old
There it
Krogstad
is.
Field.
Good plug.
We plug in the Instagram. I would plug it harder if Aaron didn't talk over me there.
What? Yeah. Go. What is the Instagram handle?
Instagram handle is at the Chronicle Sports, right?
Let me look and make sure.
You just show the QR code for all the listeners.
Yeah, just look at your screen here. It's just the Chronicle Sports.
The Chronicle Sports got some good posting starting tonight. We're going to have galleries up pretty much every night. That's good stuff on Facebook. We got some good reactions to that. The one other newsy thing that I saw that we should mention on the Chronicle, a little shout out. Tenino soccer coach Dave Montgomery just got announced as the new PA announcer for UW men's basketball. So
Oh, really?
That's a cool story, and we'll be writing about that in the upcoming weeks.
That is a cool story.
Yeah. So
All right. So he gets to travel to
Seattle.
and all the just home games.
Yeah, no,
He doesn't get to-
he's the radio PA address announcer, the public address
Yeah,
announcer,
okay.
not the radio guy.
Oh, well.
He gets to go and get paid to watch that basketball team play, which is good because I don't think I would do the transaction the other way around after the way last season went.
When was the last time you covered the UW men's team?
When I was a senior, so 2020.
All right.
Was that the game? I remember they went to ASU like right before COVID hit and kind of
Alec.
shut everything down.
Alec did that trip.
Yeah.
Yep. Alec was in Vegas covering the Pac-12 tournament when everything shut down, and we had to scramble to get him on a flight home before the flights stopped. It was a chaotic night.
All right. Anything else? Any big hot takes you've got from week 1 you want to get off? No? Nothing?
I mean, my takes before were just that everything's going to be really contested in the 2B. I think that everything's going to be really contested in the 2B South. I think that Rainier is going to spring an upset on one of the upper division teams that plays this year.
Okay.
That's a take.
We'll hold you to that. Follow along online. Do you want to plug Twitter or Facebook?
Just search us on Twitter and Facebook, and you'll find us. It's pretty easy.
And then visit cronline.com for all of your sports stories and photographs and probably this podcast, too.
Yeah, if we decide we want people to hear what we just said for the past
Yeah.
40 minutes.
All right. And with that positive note, we're going to close things out. Anything else? No? All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.